Have you ever wondered what games you should keep or you should lose? Find out here at Purge Reviews.
The Coldest Night was a game I think I heard about from the Dice Tower. Somebody was talking about it, and it looked like a little fun cooperative game with cards. And I kind of like the theme. You know, you're either post-apocalyptic or whatever. You're in the cold. You need to keep the fire going all night. If your fire dies, you die. If it stays lit, you survive the night. And that's all you're trying to do is survive the night. And the players will play cards down to try to keep that heat up. But there are obviously restrictions and some extra little things you can get, like water and rations, that will increase your chances of victory. But it's a challenge to win this game. And I must say, this game is pretty darn hard. I've won a couple times with my son through very, very, focusing on the more players you have, the trickier it can get to get the right cards that you're going to need. And one of the ways that we've been able to win, I don't think it's a newsflash for this type of game, is try to keep that heat up as much as possible. And there are some cards that will take 2 cards away instead of the normal 1 that goes down every time. And you really just need to be able to manage that the best you can and get rid of cards that might not hurt you that much. Now, you have these frostbite cards that will come up if you don't have enough, if the fire dies down enough that you will get cold. And there are negatives that go on. Sometimes you just get lucky that the cards up will match it, so it goes away. So there can be a little bit of luck that can fly into that. But the Coldest Night's a really fun game. Just go into it knowing the rules are simple. It's not a hard game to teach. It's not a hard game to play. It's a hard game to win. And your Lady Luck may need to be on your side for you to win. And you're going to need to be okay with that. You can definitely play this solo. You can play this with up to 4 people, I believe. It's a really fun experience. It's really fun to just kind of pull it out into night with it, or play with the kids before they go to bed. It works well for that. So it's worked very well for us, even though it's really frustrating to win. And maybe even take those frostbite cards out for a while if you want to, and just have an easier experience with your children. That's not in the rules, but I think it's something you can easily do just to have a good time. For us, this is a keeper. My kids asked for this one by name. Here's the Coldest Night by Indie Boards and Cards. It's a very small box. It's got a really striking cover, if you ask me. His hands are kind of placed up kind of weird, but yeah, it works. We're going to take a look at the rule book in just a few minutes, and you can see the components a little bit big for the box. The box is bigger than it needs to be. You're going to get some reference cards, and these cards do feel really good. Get some semi-generic tokens. They're good quality, and they kind of tell you what they do, and they work fine for this game. The Frostbite cards are going to lack any kind of artwork, and maybe you don't want that or whatever, but they have the number and what they do on them, and they all feel great. These have some more reference sheets. Some artwork on them. They look like clip art. I do kind of like the backgrounds here, and the numbers you need to see are big enough to see. Really what it is doesn't really matter. You're really just playing the numbers on this one. You can see the fire dwindles, etc. The cards feel good in the hand. I think I got this game for like $10, so worked really well out. Components are fine. So here's the rule book. It kind of folds out really long. No idea why they did that. You're gonna have components, no pictures. Boo, a picture of setup kinda right there as you go through. Going to have anatomy of a card, a breakdown of kind of how they work, which is really needed for this game because this is the entire game. Gameplay is right here, which will be the same thing that's kind of printed on the reference sheet. And then you have just an explanation of how everything goes, the boons and how the obstacles work. This game is going to have communication restrictions, which is going to turn some people off. And then a breakdown what the tokens do, the frostbite, and then there's a single-player solo variant on the back. Honestly, you probably could read this in 5 minutes and be up and running with no problems. Once we got started, the game flew very easily for us. So the game's very easy to set up. You're going to put the 3 cards here. You're going to take a Fire Dwindles card, put it there. You shuffle up the cards and deal 15 on top of it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. And then you're going to put another Fire Dwindle cards right there and another 15 cards. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Then you put another Fire Dwindle cards and the remainder of the cards go on top. So what you have is 20 cards, Fire Dwindle, 15 Fire Dwindle, and then Fire Dwindle on the bottom. And then everybody's going to get 3 cards off the top of the deck. And then you are ready to play. Now, during the game, communication is going to be very limited. You can say things like, I want it to be hotter or colder, but you can't talk about numbers. So the game's pretty easy. When you set up, you're going to count how much fire there is. 2, 4, 5, 6, 7. And that means I can play a card with ash 7 or less. So I could play the 7 and the 6, but I couldn't play the 8. So let's say I play the 7 here. That's fine. Then I will take off the bottom card. This will go back in the box and not be needed anymore. And then I will draw a card from the top of the deck, and the next player can go. And you kind of need to scoot these down. Now, if there's ever 2 or less cards, then at the end of a turn, you will draw a frostbite card. And the frostbite card will do negative things. Your boons do not trigger. The ash value of every kindling card is 1 higher. You must play the lowest ash value. So these will kind of be placed face down here. Now, at the start of a turn, if the value of the heat, which is 3 plus 2 is 5, ever matches exactly the frostbite, then you discard the frostbite at the beginning of the turn. During the game, you also have some cards that will have things on it. Like this one says, if the heat total is 4 or 5, you get to gain one of these tokens, and this token will be available for all the players. In this case, you place 1 heat while on this fire. So it takes the 1 and makes it a 2, and it can be up. The way you lose is if you need to draw a frostbite card and you don't have any. If there are no cards in the fire, then you will lose. The way you win is if you have all of the cards played. You go through the entire deck and all of the cards are played. So that's how you play. Now on your turn, you can do one of 2 things. You can play a fire card down. Just remember that the ash value has to be equal to or less than the heat. Or you can draw 3 cards from the top of the deck and give them out to players. However you see, I could keep all 3. I could give 1 to this person and keep 2, or give 2 away, keep 1, whatever combination I want to do. Those are the 2 actions that you have on a turn. And that's how you play the Coldest Night. Who should buy this? Anyone looking for a cooperative card game. You're looking for something that's very easy to play. You can play this with your kids. You can play this with your friends. I think it works with just about anyone. The only thing you need to know is that the game is hard. So you're going to need to be going, and it's hard. And there are ways if you're playing with kids to make it easier, like punt those frostbite cards, or finagle a couple of numbers just to keep the game going. Parents can do that sometimes. But if you're playing this straight up by the rules, this is a hard game, which I'm assuming is a very low rate of winning. And I think in order to win, you're going to need Lady Luck on your side a little bit, because I don't think your decisions necessarily, you could play the cards perfectly, and I think you could still lose. You need some things to come your way, especially with that draw and those frostbite cards, and when those frostbite cards leave. Very fun game, though. It's just difficult. Keeper for us. We love this one.